Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Coach Tom. Welcome to my channel, Creating Your New Reality. I'm a self-actualization coach. What that means is that I help people create, realize, and express their true self in the areas of their personal development, their relationships, and their career. Are you ready today? Let's go. Yesterday, I talked about the fun we had learning something new in our martial arts class and how I kind of remembered an old lesson that it doesn't get easier to assimilate a new thing until we are willing to let go of the old thing. And the homework assignment I gave you was I wanted you to think of things that you have let go of, and maybe you're farther down the path than the rest of us, or what you think you might need to let go of that's going to help you start on that journey towards self-discovery and get you to where you want to go. Now, I wanted to share some of my story a bit more with you in hopes that that might maybe shake something loose and help get your thinking process up and rolling. I know I function really well when somebody gives me real world examples of just what the heck they're talking about. So without further ado, when I talk about what to let go of, what I mean are things like how I've always thought about something, how I've always done a thing, how I always spoke to myself, how I always told myself about a certain thing. It's amazing how sometimes we have areas of growth in one area of our life, but in others we're so completely backwards. It's like we're running around with a parachute and we just can't seem to ever get over that hump or get over that block. And when we understand what we're hanging on to for dear life, then we can take that step to let it go. And I promise it's not going to be like Linus in the security blanket, where I know it sounds like it's a terrifying thing to let go of these habitual things, but it's literally the most freeing thing you can do. That's a journey for me. It's a journey for you. So again, excuse me. Again, I'm here to talk about today something that helped me. Now, when I was younger, I had this view of myself, a vision of myself, of not being very physically capable. I was physically fit. I was very lean, basically a classic ectomorph. There's a term out of the 70s, basically tall and lanky. I resembled that TV character, Scooby-Doo, or I should say Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. That was me. I could do things. I could run. I had good cardio. I had wind. I could run. I could do cross country if I ever wanted to. But what I wanted to do was martial arts. I always enjoyed watching the old Kung Fu TV shows, grew up on Jackie Chan movies, all these things, loved it to death. What I could not do was, I was dumb enough to, when I was a little kid, I wanted to be like my friends and play organized baseball, mainly because I wanted to be with my friends. I didn't really give a shit about baseball. But some of you have noticed that I've got this eye right here, and sometimes you look at these videos and go, what in the heck is he looking at? So basically what I have is a condition that's, the technical term is amblyopia. Most people know it as a lazy eye. I can see out of it just fine, but the peripheral vision on this side is really good. The bottom line is I could not hit a baseball to save my life. Couldn't catch a baseball. Can't catch a football. I can see it in the air, but to track it and like look it into your hand like you're supposed to, Ken Griffey Jr., I am not. So that had a profound effect on me as a little kid, because there's nothing worse than wanting to play a game and you can't. You get picked and you suck at it so bad nobody ever picks you again. So that's kind of a hard way to go through your childhood. But anyway, so I had this view of myself, right? So I want to do the martial arts. I'm about 15 years old. I jump into a karate class some friends of mine were doing at the local Y. That was difficult. That was my introduction into some hard training. It was an old-time karate style called Goju-Ryu for those that are keeping track. The biggest thing I learned out of that class is how to fall without breaking any limbs, and also how to do jumping jacks, counting from 1 to 20 and 20 back down to 1 in Japanese. So that's a party trick. I can win money in a bar doing that. But anyway, I struggled with that because I had such low thoughts about myself that the techniques I was learning were very, very difficult. I mean, I can do some of the basic self-defense techniques, and I used to get compliments. The upper level belts would say, Tom, we really like how you show it to these beginners they know their stuff. But when it came for my development, when I got past yellow belt and it's time to do the really flashy spinny kicks and things like that, man, wasn't even happening. I could not let myself go enough. I couldn't stop being self-conscious enough to actually be effective at that art. So you know what I did? I quit. Do what I always did. I thought, well, this isn't working for me. My instructor was really pushing me. So I turned it into this thing of, well, that guy's an asshole. I don't need to be there. So it was a protective measure. And I set my self-development back quite a number of years because I did that. Life hack for you: if you got kids, don't just let them quit stuff, okay? That's not a good thing. And if you're a young person watching this, don't quit on yourself. If you've identified something you really like to do, just keep going and it'll get better. Use what I'm teaching. So again, I wasn't letting anything go. I was just this mix of just nonsense. So I walked away from that. Fast forward to a few years later, I'm in my mid-20s and a little more out of shape. I had a factory job at the time, and when I left that to go be a recruiter, all of a sudden I'm flying a desk, right? Well, there's no cardio involved in flying a desk. I was really getting out of shape. I got winded cutting the grass, okay? That was embarrassing to me. I said, screw this. I'm going to dive back into the martial arts. I finally have my head out of my rear end. So thankfully there was a school for these Filipino arts right down the street. I walk in and I thought, ooh, this looks cool. They're doing really neat stuff. I want to do this. So I jump into it, and you know what? To force myself to do it, I paid for my lessons for a year in advance. I just handed them my Discover card and said, let's do this. So there was no turning back at that point. And it was a struggle. I want to say for the first year, the old me kept trying to manifest itself, and I'm always, man, this is rough. This is difficult. I suck. I have no physical giftedness. I'm like a pregnant yak trying to do these things. You see, they're the mental garbage, okay? It was preventing me from doing something that I really enjoyed doing. And I finally had to just let it go. I started to really struggle with me being in my own way. And what I finally did was I said, you know what? I got a hold of myself. And I said, I'm learning a system here that's different than anybody. It's a different system. It's not a very common martial art. So I'm doing something very cool. So I like that. I like things that are esoteric, kind of woo-woo, kind of out there. So this checks that box. And I also said, you know what? I'm fucking 25 years old at the time. I don't need to be judged. I'm not allowing anyone else to judge me. I'm not judging myself. I'm going to have fun. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to, it's going to be like going to the playground every day to meet my friends, and I'm just going to do my best. Not that I'm not going to try, but you know what? I'm going to remove that burden of I'm a good person, I'm a bad person, and attach to that outcome of what happens in a lesson that day. I hope you got that. You got to detach from the lesson or the feeling of good person, bad person based on the outcome. You let go of the outcome, you can start to relax and have fun. And I ended up doing this for me. I said, you know what? I'm not doing this to prove anything to anybody. I'm not doing this to prove this to anything to the kids that picked on me in school. Not doing it to please my parents. I'm not doing it to show that I'm a badass. I'm not doing it anything other than the pure enjoyment of, I like picking up the stick. I like picking up the machete. I like learning the mindset of what the ancient Filipino warriors did, how they approach things. I like the physical fitness aspect of it. I like the self-defense aspect of it. I like being aware of my surroundings. I like being able to take care of myself. And plugging back into the feedback I got in my old karate days was, hey, you know what? I could eventually teach, because I started doing the same thing. I started being really good at showing the new people how to do things. Here's how you hold the stick. Here's how you move your feet. Here's how you do this. Then my seniors, they gifted me with the ability to teach a beginning class and be that guy that takes the person who just walks in the door and explaining the history and the magnitude of what we were doing, because I was on fire about it. You know, I let myself be on fire about something. instead of being inhibited and being fearful of what would happen if I fucked it up, what I did was I let myself love what I was doing and I let myself go. And you know what? I man, everything just went to like level 10 as far as my enjoyment level, and my skill increased. And I haven't looked back. And to this day, all these years later, 20 some years, again, been doing this since the mid 90s. I still train the same martial arts and I teach the same martial arts, and it's really good. So hopefully that story inspires you with what you're doing or what you want to do, things you've always maybe wanted to try, but you're just too scared that you're going to mess it up. Well, don't be. You know, anything worth doing is worth doing badly until you get good at it. That's a life hack. You want to write that down. So that's what I've got today. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you got something out of this, hit that share button, hit that like button. Please subscribe, tell your friends. And remember that I want you to be blessed. I want you to be actualized, but mostly I want you to be yourself. I love you guys. I'll talk to you next time. Namaste.